you said this is a 905?
IC 905.
IC 905.
It's 2 liters, 432, 1296, 2304, 5760, and with that module there, 10 gigahertz.
Okay.
All I brought today was 5760 and 10 gigahertz. I've got a 17 watt power amp for 5760 and a 12 watt power amp for 10 gigahertz.
Netting. Would it be pretty much a no-no to stand in front of the dish?
Probably about that far from it to be absolutely perfectly safe.
Okay.
You can, if you put your hand up there, you can feel some heat.
Yeah.
It's not. Now the fellow I'm talking to has a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And he could probably shoot down a bird with what he's got.
We're here at Lake Parker today. We're just north. Buddy and Lydia are set up just north of the boat ramp. So if you're wondering where we are, if you've been out here, you know exactly where we're positioned.
I know the heading that I need is 120, and I did that by using a website where I was able to locate very precisely where we are and very precisely the guy I'm going to be talking to. And you get down to where instead of 4-digit grid squares, you're using 10-digit grid squares.
So that's really precise.
This is EL98AB. I got it written down. AB something or another. Anyway, it's 10 digits.
Okay, wow.
So that's how precise we can get. Of course, the beam width on this is pretty narrow.
Now I know you told me a few minutes ago, but for the camera, this compass, tell us, our viewers again, this part up here is what tell us what that is.
That's a flux gate compass. It is I can't do the electronics of it. I can't really describe that well right now. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a flux gate compass. That's the sensor up there.
Okay.
And then this is where you read out.
Okay.
And it computes the true heading, not magnetic.
Okay.
Because we have 6.433 degrees of declination here. So this is the true heading.
Okay.
Not magnetic. See, from top to bottom, normally a 432 Yagi goes up there on that mount.
Yeah.
We're not using it today. John didn't, he couldn't work 432 and 10 gigs at the same time.
Yeah.
This is a dual band dish. That's the 10 gigahertz feed. That's the 5760 feed.
Okay.
Then you come back here to, it's a 17 watt power amplifier for 5760. This is a 12 watt power amplifier for 10 gigahertz. How did that get moved? Oh, I guess it was always that way.
Now, do you run full power, or what do you find like today? What will you end up running?
I'll be running full power.
Okay.
And this is relatively high power for these two bands. That's the amount for 432 Yagi, which I didn't bring today. We decided we'd use cell phones to coordinate. And then right below that's a 5760 power amp. You got the dish, and then this is the compass head, flux gate compass. It is a true reading compass. It's compensated for the declination. That's the 10 gigahertz power amp. Then going down, there's the compass readout there. That's a 10 gigahertz RF unit. That's the main RF unit. This is an IC 905. And battery, and then the head for the 905. So that looks very similar to a 705. All right, he says he can hear me weak.
What did you say you were going to be running Q65 today?
This is Q65.
Okay.
And then my transmitter timed out. He said, I lost you. And I looked down, the transmitter timed out.
Again, buddy, where is he located?
He's 41 miles in that direction. He's down by Indian Lake Estates, somewhere down in there.
Okay.
There he is.
Buddy, as opposed to FT8 or FT4, what is the length of time in the exchange packet?
We're using 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
You can go up to 2 minutes.
And what's your current output power today?
12 watts.
12 watts, okay.
Yep, there we go. It's in the log.
All right, in the log.
All right, just for fun, I want to try mode B, C, and D. And for tropo, we normally use A.
Okay.
EME, they use D
Okay.
for on 10 gigahertz. So we're going to try mode B, C, and D just
Okay.
to see if there's any difference.
What's the call sign of the ham that you're making contact with right now?
WA3RGQ.
Yeah. That is a fun mode.
He's
Yeah.
been a ham about as long as I have,
Okay.
and he's worked in communications all his life, unlike me. All right, we made it. Software problems. So
it a 24-hour thing when they do it? Or?
starts 2 p.m. today and will end at 11 p.m. Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 54.
54 years? Yeah. How long have you been doing microwave operations?
Microwave since about 1994.
Okay.
I actually started out as a CW traffic handler back in the 70s.
Okay.
Well, we made it on C. And we're going to go to 5760 after we do mode D.
Action over Russ's house over in that area.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Have you been down here for Sun and Fun before? Or? Yeah.
Problem with using long sequences for tropospheric communications is a lot of times the signal will fade in and out over 3 times during a minute.
Okay.
And so now we're completing with 30D. He wants to try FT8. The last time we tried it, it didn't work. I've gotten it to work across the yard, but it's water vapor in the atmosphere that apparently does FT8 in. It looks good on the scope. It sounds okay, but it just won't decode. And it's happened numerous times to me. The troposphere just does a nice job of tearing up signals the higher you go in frequency. And what we find is that on 2 meters, on our Monday activity night, is a lot of times you can work somebody, say 500 miles away on Q65. You can't work them on FT8. That happens fairly often. The higher you go in frequency, the more it happens.
Okay.
It'll happen a lot more often on 432 than it will on 2 meters. And 1296, there was one guy that, all right, where is the cursor? There's got to be a cursor here somewhere. There it is. Just the higher you go in frequency, the more you have to go to Q65. But I have a friend in Inman, South Carolina, 477 miles away.
Okay.
He has a 905 with no amplifier, and I can work him on Q65 just about any time.
Now, is the 905 with no amplifier like the 705 where it's 5 watts on
2 watts.
2 watts.
It's 10 watts on 2 meters, 10 watts on 432, 10 watts on 1296, and 2 watts on 2304 and 5760, and a half a watt on 10 gigahertz. So you could still, just typing you long text. You know, this is outside of the mainstream of amateur radio, but it's really a lot of fun.
What would you say the population here in the States of people that are doing this? I mean, hey, any idea how large of a group of people are actually involved in this level? Microwaves
here in the state of Florida is probably, well, it depends on the band. There's 3 of us on 57s. There's probably a dozen people on 10 gigahertz. There's 3 of us on 5760s, probably about 6 or 7 people on 2304. There's a good crowd on 1296. There's probably 25 people on 1296. Set up at home. I have FTDX 101 MP that I use on 6 meters. That's 200 watts. I've got an IC 9700 that I use on 2 meters, 432 and 1296. I've got legal limit power on 2 meters, 500 watts on 1296 and about 250 on 432. My 222 transverter is out of service right now. My 902 transverter, the power amp, I refurbished some things in the ham shack and had to take the 902 amp out of service. I'm refurbishing it. And then I have 2304, I've got 100 watts, 1296, 100 watts. 10 gigahertz, you got too much feed line loss. And I've been a ham for, how many did you say, 54 years? 54 years, and I've yet to put any electronics up on the tower. So I'm not putting this stuff up on the tower.
I was gonna say, that was one of the concepts that ICOM was talking about with this.
No feed line loss.
Yeah.
No feed line.
To put that kind of money way up at the tip of the tower up there.
Oh, it's easy to do, but keeping it up there is a problem.
Yeah.
I think he's stronger now than he was.
Spot here to your buddy at Indian Lakes, did y'all have to take into consideration altitude difference as far as angling the dish, or?
No, that is something that I've never done it. I used to have my dish angled up slightly.
Yeah.
The guy said get it up in the duct. This one isn't. If I ever really get sophisticated in one of these centuries, I may try doing some elevation changes. But there's one guy that used to have that. I never really found out if it worked well for him or not.
Yeah.
But there was one guy, speaking of people that get into things very complicated, he came up with this great way to make sure you had your antenna pointed exactly where it was. You had to find a known mark and use a bore sight and all this stuff. And it'd take 30 minutes to figure out where you were with it. That thing there wasn't that expensive. That's another key, is finding things that aren't expensive that work well. What I do is I have a hand bearing compass. I came out here and set up, oh yep, right through there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm afraid Q65 isn't very interesting. I mean, you got all these guys that turn their nose up at it because it's not like making a CW contact way down in the noise.
Right.
And WA3RGQ, WA3RGQ, WB4OMG. You're about a 5x5, 5x5 EL98. you can work somebody on Q65 and complete the first time. FT8, if you can make it at all, maybe take 5 or 6 sequences to complete. You get on CW, you can probably just barely tell the guy's there. You can get on sideband and you probably can't hear him. Now we're going to go to FT8 on 10 gigahertz just to try it. I don't think it's going to work, and he doesn't either. Now we were doing Q65 on 5760.
Q65 on 5760.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus 03, so it's about the same signals we had on 10 gigahertz, which you got less antenna gain, but the path ought to be a little easier. And in the VHF contest, the higher you go in frequency, the more points you get. The two things that I do is VHF, UHF, and microwaves, and HF and 160 meter CW contesting. I'm no good. You hand me a microphone for a contest, I'm no good. But I've got some plaques on the wall for CW. So, you know, those are the two things that I do, both of which are out of the mainstream of amateur radio, because most of the newer hams don't know code at all. So, but that's the stuff that I do. I'd really like to see the club get more into contesting, but just doesn't seem to be that much interest in it. So, well, I think I'm going to QRT.
During field day, do they run this frequency and stuff for field day?
We did one time from the EOC, and there were some big shots that came out to see what we were, see what field day was all about. The main reason we operated field day that year for the EOC is diesel fuel goes bad after a while, so they wanted to burn up some of the diesel fuel in the tank. So, I can bring some VHF gear out. Okay, you can do that. So I brought 5760 out and worked a guy over in Merritt Island, and there was, I think it was the assistant county manager and I think one commissioner came out, and that really impressed them. So. Very glad you all came out. Hope you can edit some of this stuff and get something good out of it. This is a lot. I consider this a lot of fun. A small residuum of hams considered a lot of fun. These IC905s are making it easy. You talk to some of these guys who've been around a while, they think you should have to build everything from scratch. Then transverters came out. Well, that was okay. Now this stuff's out. This has made it easy. So anyway, I think this will probably increase microwave activity quite a bit, because there's several of them been sold in this state, and there's going to be some more sold.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
It all loads nicely into a Toyota Prius.
Oh, we've had a lot more than this in a Toyota Prius.
Oh, yeah.
We've had six bands in a Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we did the roving. Yeah.
Wow.